Hello everyone and welcome back to Mentos Plays Our Darker Purpose. We are going to jump into here again to have some fun and see if we can't make something good happen on this run. Yeah, I didn't have a video up yesterday. That was due to partially my own mistake, partially a problem that I'm still having today, although I've gotten it a little bit better. And that for some reason my CPU just seems to be massively overexerting itself every time I do something. I'll boot up a game and it'll just automatically jump up to like max CPU usage when it's, something like, makes sense for some games, but for something like, what's a good example? Speedrunners is actually a good example. Part of the reason that's not recording well is because Speedrunners alone is pretty much maxing out my CPU usage, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I'm not sure what it is, but occasionally my laptop gets kind of weird where it stops liking to work very well, and this seems to be one of those times. In fact, I've even noticed a few frame rate hiccups here, which is something that hasn't happened before. And I'm not sure what the cause is, especially, if you follow my Spelunky series, I started to talk near the end of it that we were starting to get major lag issues during it when it wasn't something that we used to have. And it seems like it's kind of spreading to just anything now. And I don't really understand why. Sorry, I'm trying to get a good angle on the screen here. So it does seem like, I mean, it's something I have to try to work my way through figuring out. I'm just not really sure what could be causing it. I scroll through the process list and nothing is really eating up processes. If I haven't opened up a game or just started running it, it usually doesn't have a problem. But it seems like it's massively overexerting itself every time. On the bright side, right now it has dropped down. It's not nearly the maxing out that it had been doing when we were getting those frame rate hiccups. But it's still a problem that I need to resolve because that wasn't really something that happened before. And it seems to be happening consistently now. Great expectations of juice boxes, plus 15 life, enemies twice as likely to drop juice boxes. We're going to go with 10% move speed, because move speed is very useful in this game. Aww. Go away, Caltrop, so I can get the item. I don't want to walk through you. Student Treaty slows enemies on use for 2 seconds. Not that great. We had this one last time, actually, now I think about it. Oh god. Hey, it's a treasure chest. It took way too much damage to get it, but what is it? Plus 10% dodge. Raise general anxiety. So yeah, that's something I'm going to be working through in the next several days, is trying to figure out why exactly it seems like my CPU usage is just off the charts from where it should be. Hopefully I can figure that out, make the content coming up a little bit better. Because right now I'm getting very aggravated to the point of almost just not wanting to record because I know the quality isn't where it should be. And I know that I've never had quite so bad of issues as I've been having lately. And it gets kind of frustrating, I know that having a laptop I can't expect to put out the highest quality of content, especially if I'm even considering doing something a little bit more intensive. But I should be able to play games like Speedrunners while recording them without it having too major of a lag. And I'm almost curious if that's just because that is in, beta still, and it hasn't been fully optimized, if maybe that's the problem with that game. And I didn't actually try recording others to see if it was doing the same thing in those. Puzzle Platformer Deluxe worked well enough. I didn't really look at the CPU usage during that, though. So, I got some experimenting to do. I got some stuff to figure out. Hopefully I won't have any more missed days of content, because I hate to miss days like I did. But we're going to have to see as time goes on. Let's see. Brog is a leaderless classroom or a wealthy classroom. Let's go to the wealthy side. Guess we should check all the walls here for the memory rooms. I think I could have probably bought a perk. Oh god, I don't like this room at all. I should also turn on debug mode in case we run into any glitches or anything. The developers are able to see the room number. Give me 1 second to do that. I didn't realize actually until just now that it hadn't been left on from last time. Looks like not all of these are active, which is of course a big help. Oh god. Took 12 damage getting a juice box that heals me for 20. And it was a good trade, but barely a good trade. Why do we need the garbage can dudes? This room would be annoying enough without them. Die everything. Oh god. So walk myself into a corner. Okay, at least here that other one can't attack me. Take care of him, take care of this one. Good. We are building up some money, that's a plus. There is our leader for the floor. Come on. Come on, buddy, get over here. Come say hi. Come say hi, Tim the Tousled. Should be able to handle this guy without getting hit at this point. It's just a matter of making sure to dodge to speed up as necessary. When he gets a little bit too close, we roll. Ooh, what is this? +1 chalk, your chalk clouds now fire arrows. Okay. Chalk is something that I haven't actually, I don't think, used in my videos since I noticed its advent, or at least not effectively used for sure. But we'll try to see what we can do with that. Just hit the garbage can man. Damn it. Taking so much bad damage. So much. On the bright side, with this being a wealthy floor, I'm pretty sure we already have enough to afford another juice box from a vending machine when we find one, which is a plus. Oh god. But health-wise, we are not doing so hot this run. So now we know where our boss room is already, obviously. We walked past the door to it. It's that room up top in the middle there. So let's go to the other non-boss room here. We got a desk man and a spiky globe. Stay away from me, globe. I do not want to be killed by you. Oh god. That was a rather lucky roll, honestly. That one, not so much. But as I kind of expected, there is a chest at the end of this little gauntlet here. And this gives us plus 10% resist by the gourmet turtle. That's useful, actually. Of course, we still take 6 damage to those things. Oh, come on! You were rolling straight, and then right at the very end, you bounced upward at me. So it seems like there is no vending machine on this floor, which is unfortunate. I was kind of looking forward to making use of that. And we're going to be fighting some harmless markings, which are not quite as harmless as their name implies. This is a lot of chalk clouds. Come on. Gotta do things well here. It's gonna avoid damage. Now the hard part of the battle begins again. Okay, so that strategy still works of hitting her while she's still in the paint in the chalkboards and doing things that way. Yeah, that's right, some harmless markings. You have been rather harmless in general to me. Doesn't seem to always work though. Okay, and here she comes. Yeah! So that's 2 floors down. Now we can go to the Kitchens of Purgatory, a well-stocked cafeteria, which means that it has multiple vending machines. This has 2 big. We're gonna go to this one with multiple vending machines. We aren't doing all that well in the health department, so I think that a floor that's too big might be a little bit more dangerous than it's worth. God, I hate this chair-throwing girl. Combined with these chalk monsters, this is actually kind of hard to deal with. Well, I guess now that we have one of them down, it's a little bit easier. Because this chair thrower doesn't really worry about hitting us if we get up close. She just throws her chairs, and if they aren't able to hit us, then that's all there is to it. So once one of those guys was down, that room got much easier. Let's head onwards from here. Oh god. We got globe throwers and fire. This is a dickish room. God, there's like nowhere to dodge. Whew, we'll use another juice box here because we are down low on HP again. Let's go up this time. Okay, so we got a couple of blobs that aren't that much of a threat. The bigger threat is those things sitting there that if we hit them, they're going to shoot out shockwaves that hurt us. That is what I'm most concerned about in this room. If I can avoid those, everything else should come easily. Oh, come on. How are you not dead yet? I am pretty much just using the juice boxes as soon as I get them. Probably not the best decision, but it was work time. But we're low enough on health where they aren't really going to get that much more beneficial if we save them. You know, they might end up being capable of giving us more in the long run, but is it really worth risking our lives to see if we can save the juice boxes for when we have an item to buff them? These two are really hard to deal with in conjunction with each other, so I pretty much constantly have to be on the move. Missed a couple of shots there, unfortunately. Come on. That was a critical, that's a plus. Okay, we only have one left. That makes things much easier. Okay. The Hasteland, plus 20% move speed, or plus 10 damage. Enemies are twice as likely to drop chalk. We're going to go with the extra damage. Move speed would be nice too, but we already got a 10% boost in move speed, and next up on my list of priorities is damage. So we can actually kill things quick enough to where they won't hurt us as much. Of course, there has to be fire in this room, because why wouldn't there be? Caltrops, fire, impediments, fast enemies, and blobs. Hoppy hoppy blobs. Oh god. These blobs would go good in beer because they're so full of hops. Come on. Now for the hard part, which is taking out these blobs who are incredibly good at dodging. Oh god, I'm stuck on the desk. Okay, come on. This room is just evil. It is evil, I tell you. If it was just those running guys, it wouldn't have been so bad. But the blobs, who are a lot less predictable, along with the fire and the running guys, makes for a horrifying combination. We're not going to fight the boss yet, because obviously we still have a couple of vending machines to find, see what they've got to offer us. Should be over this way. Why, Chalk Cloud Man? Why must you torment me? Didn't expect him to start his run right there. And I wish that that would do damage to the enemies as well. Because right now it's like hitting those is entirely a punishment for you and there's no benefit to be gained from it. Which is not necessarily a good thing. You know, if you look at something like, if you look at most roguelikes, any kind of trap that can harm you will also harm the enemy. And I feel like having ones that are going to harm you and possibly give you major problems, but aren't going to harm the enemy, kind of detracts from the way it should be. Not so much because it makes it harder, but because it makes it a little bit less level up instantly on next floor. Enemies shatter when destroyed. I'm going to consider buying more juice boxes. I am also going to consider buying that instant level on the next floor. But at the same time, I do want to take care of this floor's stuff. Oh. I wanted to see what the other vending machine had in it first. Start a new run here. Debug mode came off again. There we go. Let's go this way. But yeah, I feel like having traps that harm the player but they don't have any effect on the enemies kind of makes for a, I almost want to say artificially difficult experience. You know, there can be enemies that avoid the traps or what have you, or that have resistances to them, but to just have traps that send out a big shockwave and don't hit the enemies makes it so that you have to be extremely wary not only if you're going to hit them, but if the enemies are going to activate them, because there is no benefit to you. Whereas if you, what am I looking for here? If the traps hit the enemies as well, then they can kind of be almost not necessarily used to your advantage, but you can, anything that you have to avoid, the enemy has to avoid too. So if you're going to mess up, you can try to at least draw the enemy into messing up with you. You know, you look at the spikes in the Binding of Isaac as a good example. The way that they, sorry, kind of concentrating here and failing miserably. But you look at the spikes in Binding of Isaac and the way that, you know, no matter if it's you or the enemy who walks on spikes, unless you're flying, you're going to take damage. Or, you know, in Spelunky, same thing. If you fall on spikes, whether you're a boss or a player character, you are going to die when you fall on the spikes, unless you walk onto them slowly. Where the chalk cloud ends. I'm going to go with this one. This one seems better. We're going to use a juice box. Come over here, pick up plus 50 experience points received. That's actually really good. But, yeah, you know, in Spelunky, anything that falls on the spikes, whether it's a strong enemy or, you know, a normal level enemy or a player, they're going to die instantly. Isaac, anything that walks on the spikes is going to get damaged. You kind of see the trend repeating throughout a lot of the more popular roguelikes. There are probably more examples in that as well that I'm just not thinking of off the top of my head. But in this one, it's more so a, you know, you're vulnerable to these traps, but the enemies aren't. So you do feel kind of like you don't have anything that you can do about them, except kind of try your best to avoid getting hit and avoid activating the traps. And it's not so bad with some of them, but, you know, the fire can get really hard to dodge with some of the faster enemies, and it would be really helpful to have it where at least if the enemies walked into it, they got hurt too, because then you would have a little bit better chance of things. Same thing with, you know, those little battery things I was talking about. You know, as it stands, if the enemy is in the explosion radius, they don't get hurt, but if you are, you do. So if you're trying to attack an enemy who's right by you and you're walking by them and you hit it on accident, it doesn't do anything to the enemy. So, one missed shot can turn from hitting an enemy and helping you into too small or... That sounds like it works. But, instead of, if you make a mistake, it can still have some kind of effect on the enemy as well. It's instead, if you make a mistake, you get hurt when you wouldn't have otherwise, and the enemy is perfectly fine through it. It's a design decision. It's just not one that I know is necessarily my preferred design decision. Oh, what the crap? Are you kidding me? And it's a chest challenge room, so I'm guessing once this, okay, everything goes away once you survive long enough for the chest. We get the gourmet turtle for resistance, and we can get out of there. That was not nearly as bad as it seemed at first. Before I realized that was a challenge room for a chest, it looked like my goal was to just kill everything in there without taking damage to the huge amount of stuff attacking us. It turns out the fact that room was unbalanced against the player was actually intentional, and you just had to survive. But, that's what I mean by, oh, maybe that does actually hurt her. I've noticed some enemies it doesn't, but that one seemed like it did. It does, actually. Okay, well, I take back that entire thing I was just saying, because that has apparently just been something that I haven't noticed it actually doing before. That last time we were in a room with those, I could have sworn that I hit it while they were in range a couple times, and nothing happened, but I guess they must have been out of range and I just didn't notice it. But yeah, it's much better that way than the way that I thought it was working. So I take back what I was just saying. I still think that some of the other stuff shouldn't hurt them too. Fire, notably, that blob was just kind of sitting there while the fire went through it. The fire can be really a pain to deal with. Some of the traps that we haven't seen so far in these, since I started doing the videos on the beta here, are also horrifyingly killer to the player. The ones that reach out of the ground and hold you in place. You don't exactly get enough health to where having no ability to avoid a couple of hits is going to be really all that survivable. I'm sure you can survive it, but, it's going to be a lot more luck-based if you do or not. Whereas, with the, being held in place and having no way to attack either is a very, very deadly combo that is probably a little bit unbalanced. Call of Wild Furniture. 10% attack speed, 20% more damage against bosses. Plus 15 life, enemies are twice as likely. I'd like to get extra damage against bosses, but I think right now our best choice is to get more juice boxes. Apologies that my nose is acting up. I really want Sock Snake. Plus 1 shot when not moving. If that's how the sock puppet from the earlier versions evolved, that's kind of disappointing that they just took away that it's always a double shot. I know that gives you a lot more power when it's an actual double shot, but that doesn't exactly make things easy. Sudsy. Bad Sudsy. Sudsy is a real pain of a boss. Well, at least I resist his ice damage a bit, but not by enough to make it where it's going to go from this is going to be hard to survive to I'm going to survive this. I mean, I still have a decent amount of juice. I still have 2 juice boxes, so I guess I should pop one of those now, just to err on the side of caution, but get some hits in there. The extra damage we got is definitely helping out. Having that is a plus, as well as having the extra experience so we can level up a little bit quicker, get a few more perks than us. Got a critical on him while he charged across there. Got hit by his ice ball though. Stand back here and avoid that while that's going on. Yes, Sudsy has died. What floor next? Cafeteria where they're sensitive, or a wealthy cafeteria? Let's go to the sensitive one, because enemies taking more damage is being hugely helpful, I won't lie. This man has red bubbles. The red bubbles block my shots. I gotta remember that. That makes him rather hard to deal with. I think that a chalk cloud might be in order here. Okay, well that wasn't really getting anywhere near him. Ooh, I like this item if I remember. Have to pick up. Plus 10% crit chance. Actually not the same as what I remembered it being before. So, never mind that. Oop, oop. Only one more of these guys to deal with. There we go. Let's do our best to survive until our next level at least. Yeah, come on, Mr. Blob. Mr. Bloob. Whoa, that was lucky. Like there, I had nowhere to go. If I hadn't gotten that critical hit that killed her in one hit, we would have taken damage and possibly been trapped in a corner. So that was pure luck that we survived there. You know what, we could fight the boss, but let's go look for anything else of interest down here. Kind of feel like taking out this blob first is the best decision here. Although, I did take a hit. There we go. Those guys are down. Let's grab our money. Pop another juice box because I am playing horribly tonight. And go on through this. Just the door at the bottom here. Okay, so we got a bunch of these jumping guys. We got a few shooters. We got a furnace in the middle spewing fire at us. I just took a hit like an idiot. And another hit. We are almost dead. We're down to 28 health. And yet I keep pressing on through the floor for who knows what reason. Self-destructive tendencies? Maybe. Or maybe it's just my habit when playing through games like this to explore fully. Coins and punishment. 10% move speed, plus 1 damage for each Edgewood Meritus token in possession. That sounds pretty good. Or plus 20% attack speed. We're going to go for attacking more often. I've already got one shot speed up, and this allows me to spend my money a little bit less scaredly. Just buy 2 juice boxes, and see, like right there, we would have gotten no benefit from that because I bought 2 juice boxes right away. Instead, we're still getting that plus 20% attack speed. So that is kind of like, or that perk is kind of like money equals power in Isaac, where if you do that, you kind of have to set yourself on a path of, oh god. You kind of have to set yourself on a path of, I'm not going to buy anything on this run, and this is not a run where I was prepared to do that. The fact that it keeps going dark is making this very difficult. I know that's the point of the boss, but it's still making it very difficult. I can't see the caltrops, but bosses take more damage, I believe, like the other enemies on the sensitive floor, and that made him very much beatable. The Candelabra of Longing. And now we're at the Woundward Fortress, which is probably where this run is going to end if I had to be honest with you. Because we have no juice boxes left, and we are very low on health, and those hands that are almost entirely unavoidable. And this is what I mean by one of those traps that is rather seemingly a little bit unbalanced against the player, where you run into these situations where in order to run through the room, there's really not much you can do but take damage. The wardrobes, if they catch you, um, which a lot of times you don't have enough room to get away from them before they do, you're bound to take damage from the enemies. These hands are very hard to avoid taking damage from, especially when you got fast running enemies like that where you have to keep moving. Um, as a whole, I do really enjoy my time with this game, don't get me wrong. I just think that some of the traps in their current state make things very difficult to avoid taking damage, and that's not necessarily the best way to build a difficult game. It shouldn't be that, even if you know what you're doing, it's hard to avoid damage. It should be, if you know what you're doing, you're going to get away without taking damage most of the time. That room there with the layout of those hands, I couldn't really go over top like I tried to because I was right at the top of the map. So I couldn't go over top of them, but if I was in the middle of them, I was going to be even more within range than I was at the top. So I'm not sure if there was actually a way for me to make it out of that room without getting hurt, and that kind of thing drives me a little bit crazy. Regardless, we are going to call this episode here for the day. Thank you guys for watching as always. I hope you have enjoyed the episode. Whispers is 20% crit chance when near near enemies. Start with 2 extra juice boxes, sounds good. So yeah, we'll go with that anyway. But yeah, we're gonna call it quits for this episode. Thank you guys for watching as always. I will see you on the next episode of whatever comes up. Hopefully I'll be able to figure out why my computer is so drastically using resources, which is something that it didn't seem to do before. Just playing a game of speedrunners probably shouldn't be taking my computer to almost max. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to test it with some other games too and see during gameplay, not just during booting up, what their numbers look like. But regardless, thank you guys as always for watching. I hope you have enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Take care, everyone, and have a good one.